everyone. Welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale in Abuja. Let's begin to you some breaking news that we're following for you. But before then, let's tell you that it's 66 days to the 2023 elections. Nigerians are anticipating the opportunity to elect their leaders in an election that many have described as a critical one for the African giant. Get your PVC, everyone, and make your vote count. The breaking news that we are following for you right now on Channels Television: Labour Party Presidential Campaign Organization Director General and the former presidential advisor, Dr. Okupe, has today resigned his position as the DG of the Peter Obi campaign. Dr. Okupe, in a letter addressed to the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Dr. Okupe said it's better not to allow his personal interest distract the campaign and of Peter Obi and that of the Labour Party, and so he has decided to step aside. This is following a federal high court Abuja judgment which found Mr. Dr. Okupe guilty of receiving over 200 million naira cash from former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki, and also sentenced him to 2 years imprisonment. Let's tell you that tomorrow will be a special showcase of an exclusive release of a presidential poll result. We've been seeing different presidential polls, but yet another one will come up tomorrow night, 7 p.m., exclusively to Channels Television. This poll is a release of some of the polls that are being organized and put together by ANAP Foundation in conjunction with the NOI poll. And this series of a poll will go a long way to determine how Nigerians feel in different sectors of life ahead of the election. It's now time for us to check some of the political roundup stories. And when we come back, of course, we dive into the conversation on the 2023 election and some of the issues that have been raised ahead of these polls. Stay with us. Your political roundup stories.
The Senate has confirmed the nomination of Loretta Onochi and 12 others as chairman and board members of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC. The confirmation follows a consideration of a report by the Senate Committee on Niger Delta recommends that the upper chamber should confirm all the nominees screened by the committee. The confirmation of 2 nominees who did not attend the screening exercise were stepped down. They are Dr. Pius Odudu, representing Edo State, and Anthony Okanne, representing Imo State. The presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has promised to open all Nigeria's borders if elected president in 2023. Atiku Abubakar says he will address security and the economic situation of the country, as well as the lingering issue of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, to ensure uninterrupted education of students, as he urges the electorate in Katsina State to vote massively for the party. As the controversy over the recent Naira design by the Central Bank of Nigeria rages, the Arewa Youth Assembly has thrown its weight around the policy, saying it is a commendable policy that will forestall the future warehousing of Naira notes by individuals. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Publicity Secretary of the Assembly, Mr. Ali Mohammed, said the new CBN policy will also help to checkmate incidents of vote buying. However, the group appeals to Nigerians to continue to support the governor of the Apex Bank and his policies, as they are aimed at fighting corruption, banditry, and other social vices. Also, at a separate event, the coalition of political parties, civil society organizations, and ethnic youth leaders have decried an alleged plot by the Department of State Services to truncate the tenure of the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Emefiele. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has signed an agreement with members of the transport unions, comprising the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the National Association of Road Transport Workers, and the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, for effective logistic deployment in the 2023 general elections. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, notes that INEC will be needing at least 100,000 vehicles and over 4,000 boats and gunboats for the conveyance of personnel and materials for the conveyance of personnel and materials in the forthcoming general elections. Youth leaders in the southwestern region of Nigeria have been speaking on the need for the Nigerian youth to shun violence, vote trading, and apathy as the 2023 general elections approach. The team, comprising Southwest Youth Parliament members and other youth mobilizers, said it has become imperative for youth in the region to run a thorough profile check of presidential candidates as well as political office seekers in the next year to ensure their commitment to youth development, job creation, and security of the country. Ahead of the 2023 presidential elections, the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council in Adamawa State has inaugurated the Adamawa State chapter of the Tinubu-Shetima Coalition for Good Governance. Inaugurating the members of the coalition at the APC Secretariat in Yola, the state capital, the Director General of the group, Mr. Shitu Adebayo, charges the newly inaugurated members to move to all the nooks and crannies of the state and mobilize votes for the APC presidential candidate and other party candidates. Imo State Governor Senator Hope Uzodimma today appeared before the State House of Assembly, where he presented the 2022 budget of an estimated 474 billion naira. The budget, tagged the Budget of Wealth Expansion, captures the capital expenditure pegged at 373 billion naira as against 284 billion naira in the 2022 approved budget, showing a 23% increase and 78.7% of the total budget size. Governor Uzodimma believes that with little resources available to his administration, more has been achieved, and he promised that 2023 brings a huge potential for performance delivery to the people of the state.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Earlier story that we brought to you that Dr. Doyin Okupe of the Labour Party, the Director General of the presidential campaign of the Labour Party, has stepped aside. Although he tweeted that he will still be taking active role, he cannot jettison what is started because he believes that Peter Obi is going to be Nigeria's next president, and until he sees that happening, he will not rest of it. He's now stepped aside his role. But let's also remind you that there will be an exclusive release of a presidential poll that's been put together by ANAP Foundation and the ANOR. This is perhaps the second in the edition of the presidential poll for the 2023 election, and that will come up right here live on Channels Television. We look forward to that and the breakdown, the blow-by-blow analysis of what the poll says and what Nigerians are saying. Is there anything different in the last month or so that the earlier poll was released? We'll see what happens in the release of that poll. Watch out for that right here on Channels Television tomorrow at 7 p.m. Let's talk about the Labour Party and some of the issues that are being generated now in the exit of Dr. Doyin Okupe as the Director General of the Presidential Campaign Organization. Let's speak to the spokesperson of the Labour Party campaign organization, Mr. Yunus Tanko. He joins us live via Zoom, virtually from Uyo, the capital of Akwa Ibom State. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanko, for joining us tonight. And give us an understanding, the news of Dr. Okupe being sentenced to prison yesterday. How does this come to your campaign?
Well, to say the truth, it came as a rude shock to all of us. And I must say here that Dr. Doyin Okupe is an exceptional Democrat who believes in the rule of law, who is working very hard to ensure that Nigeria is taken back to the hands of the people. So immediately when we got this particular news, it took us aback normally as a group of people. But you have to remember that this movement is not about one person. It's a collective interest of everybody who want to take back Nigeria to the hands of the Nigerian people. So it only will strengthen us. We will look within ourselves and take the right decision at the highest level. As we speak, the campaign council is yet to meet to take a decision on what has happened. And we, on our part, will remain resolute and determined to continue on our sojourn in order to change the narrative and getting 133 million Nigerians out of poverty. This is the target of our principal and his vice, Deti Baba Ahmed. And you also recall that he made this particular statement in the same Uyo yesterday as regard to the fact that we know that there have been a syndicated attack from a lot of our opponents, starting from the registration point for the PVC and then collection, destruction of property, and then eventually killing of our people. And so we've already called on the local and international community to look at this syndicated attack on the persons of our own collective interest, and as a political party and as a movement. We are not going to be deterred, are not going to be also be intimidated by anybody or any action of a group of people, because for us, Nigeria is our target, and getting Nigeria back on the right track is what we believe that we are going to do. And so we will continue to move on.
Yeah. So immediately, are you having any consideration for our replacement for Dr. Donyin Okupe? Are there names that you're considering? Because we are hearing a few names. Can you tell us who are those that you're considering for that role?
Now, we have not officially made pronouncement as even regard to the resignation that you read out early on this particular show. Until when the campaign council meet and they will take a decision on what to do and how to do it next. So those particular names probably will also be speculation until when the campaign council meets, because you see, we are not an independent person, but one singular person will take a decision. It is a collective decision for the interest of the Nigerian people.
Was the campaign or Mr. Obi considering sacking Dr. Okupe? Or, I mean, what was the thinking of the campaign when that the judgment came about yesterday?
When the judgment came, we only went back into our drawing board to look at the plus or minuses of this particular pronouncement, and looking at it with the view of how we come stronger out of it. But there was no particular decision that was made in regard to this particular situation. But the decision by Dr. Donyin is a personal one. He took it on his own merit as a true Democrat who knows that it's a collective interest, and then he decided on his own to make those particular pronouncements that you saw in the letter. But collectively, the campaign council, all the parties have not made any pronouncement as regard to that. But only our presidential candidate who made it clear that nothing would deter him from continuing to study on, to continue to fight for the Nigerian people, continue to fight for the soul of the Nigerian people, continue to fight for the collective interests of Nigeria, and ensure that Nigeria is back on track. This is the collective target, and we are not derailing from that.
Let's look at this from the perspective of those Nigerians who are your followers, the obedience, the Peter Obi lovers, the Labour Party followers and supporters. How much of a dent do you think that incident of yesterday is for the Labour Party, Peter Obi brand, and your aspiration of leading this country as a movement or as a political party?
Well, it may shock you to know, Seun, that the obedient movement and our followers and our party members know ab initio that those who have held us down for so long will not relent in their efforts in order to manipulate the system or attack us or gag us or kill us. So they are already prepared. They have prepared their mind as regard to the challenges that will be on us. So they have made up their mind. And you can see from some of the things that they've been doing, even when they were being intimidated, come out of it stronger. Even when they are being attacked, they come out of it stronger. Even when some of our people are being killed, they come out stronger. So this particular one will only strengthen us and make us stronger as a collective. So that is the kind of stuff the Nigerian obedient movement are made of, both locally and internationally.
Yeah.
They will call...
Dr. Tango, do you see this as an attack or a political gimmick against your party or the obedient movement?
Well, I see it as a way in which they are trying to demarcate and probably direct the focus that we have. But we have said it, that there will be a point in which we will have to look, although we are making submissions to the Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, and the Nigerian government as regard to the series of attacks that we're receiving, both on cyber, physical, and on the media. But at the same time, too, our people are not going to be docile and wait until when we are already been eliminated in the field. No, Nigeria belongs to all of us, and no level of intimidation will be acceptable by us. So we are saying, as a sound of warning, that it is good that these people should resent from attacking us or killing us or maiming us or trying to shame us or trying to intimidate us. This will not be acceptable to all of us. But it is very important that the Nigerian state take very closer look at these particular attacks that has already been on us, and making sure that those who have been arrested have been brought to book, and then major announcements should be made as regard to those who are involved in this heinous crime.
So I'm actually asking, and perhaps trying to get some clarification, because this trial of Dr. Okupe did not start last week or 2 months ago. These are several months of trial, which culminated into a judgment that we saw yesterday. And so that was the reason I asked the question. When you say that this is an attack on the obedient, the judgment of yesterday, perhaps you didn't get my question properly. So it was a trial,
yes,
that's come several years coming now, and so this is I don't know the position of Dr. Okupe as of now, whether he's appealing the matter or is leaving it as it is. Because what the court has said is that what is done is a violation of the Money Laundering Act, which is a criminal offense in Nigeria, and that is what the court says he is being indicted of. So are you saying that that judgment is an attack on the obedient or the aspiration of your party to lead Nigeria in 2023?
Well, Seun, looking at the historical point of view of this particular situation and the judgment passed, it seems to us it's just a pick-choose judgment, considering the fact that the major culprit or the major accuser of probably those who gave the money are already living free in the streets of Nigeria. We don't even know where that particular person is. I'm talking in respect of Sambo Dasuki, who was allegedly to have given this particular money to Dr. Doyin Okupe. And the truth is this. Now, he himself has been set free. He has not been convicted. That is the person that was said to have given this particular money. But here you are, somebody that's already been alleged to have collected is being convicted. So that for us sounds very, very, very funny, because you cannot put something on nullity. And then that was why we are turning it to a syndicated attack to us. Looking at the veracity of the claim and the allegation, those who are supposed to have given the money are still living free. And those who have been collecting have been involved in drug addiction, drug baron, those who have been involved in corruption, even at the highest level, those who have been leading the action of violence have not been touched. That wants us to start thinking that this particular decision or the judgment of the court as another judgmental attack on the pick and choose on our own leadership. And then when you look at it critically, you will examine the fact that those particular people who are supposed to have been juridically been convicted were not convicted. So how is it that at this point and at this moment in which when we are soaring high, and then they are making those particular judgments in order to demarcate us? So those are the reasons why we say it's a syndicated attack, both physically, on the cyber, both humanitarian, and then at the same time, now using the legal means.
My final question to you tonight, Dr. Yunusa, is that for the maxim which says that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. And with this indictment of your Director General, a Director General is perhaps a leader of your campaign. And so you've said so many things to Nigerians in your campaign, how you handle this and handle that, the promises you've made to Nigerians. What would you be telling them tonight for those who perhaps have not made up their mind to be obedient, those who are thinking what Labour Party, Peter Obi, and the leaders of this movement have in store for them? How do you explain to them in the face of this indictment of your Director General, though he has stepped down, and whether or not they should believe your campaign and what it holds for Nigeria in the face of the challenges that it's faced with?
Well, quickly, I want first of all thank them for remaining being dogged, because already they have prepared their mind. They knew that there's going to be attack. And so they have resigned themselves to continue to fight. In fact, I've read Twitters on fact that, look, if you are going to do this, then do it on all the other candidates who are already have cases in the courts. So they have already prepared their mind. But we want to call on them to remain determined, to remain dogged, that our candidate is determined to continue to fight for their rights and for this particular country. And that is exactly what they want. And if that is what they want, they should redouble their effort in trying to make sure that they go out en masse to vote for Peter Obi as the candidate of the Labour Party, and Dr. Baba Ahmed as the vice presidential candidate. Because these are the people who will fight for you.
Dr. Eunice Otanko, spokesperson of the Labour Party and Peter Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us tonight.
God bless Nigeria.
Appreciate it. Well, let's tell you that the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, today met with President Muhammadu Buhari over issues of electoral violence and the cashless policy, including issues of security. Mr. Gbajabiamila met with the President privately in his office, stating that he had a fruitful engagement with the President on the salient issues to primarily gain his perspective on them, as well as present the House position on the matters. On the ongoing controversy relating to the 89.9 trillion naira stamp duty funds management, steered up by a member of the House of Reps, Honorable Gudaji Kazaure, the Speaker said that the lawmaker is working with a team independent of the legislature and will be assisted by the House if the need arises. It therefore distanced the National Assembly from the matter, as it does not impugn on the integrity of the members of the House. It concludes by affirming that the 2023 budget will be passed on Thursday, December 22nd, 2022, ahead of the resumption in 2023, which is scheduled 5 weeks to the election. Take a listen to the Speaker after his meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari.
Things have come up, things have come up in the last few weeks. Things come up every day in Nigeria, every day. And in the last few days, some things have come up. And I'm sure you know some of these things. And I just wanted to get his perspective on them and give him mine and that of the National Assembly's perspective and position on those matters. And we had a fruitful discussion. We're going to be rounding up our session. And of course, when we resume in January, it's going to be just barely 5 weeks before elections. So we're probably going to have very little time to sit, with maybe about a week to 10 days before we all go home for campaigns and elections. In that 1 week to 10 days, we intend to cram in a lot. For now, we're going to pass the budget on Thursday, hopefully. And when we come back in January, we'll do some house cleaning matters. Like I said, things come up every single day in Nigeria, so we don't know what's going to come up at that time. And then we'll close for campaigns.
All right, as the Speaker of the House of Reps, Mr. Femi Gbajabiamila. A human rights lawyer, Mr. Falana, yesterday was calling out on security agencies to apprehend those he claimed are anti-democratic forces bent on truncating the 2023 elections. We get more perspective from the senior advocate tonight on the program. Mr. Femi Falana joins us from his office in the Ikeja area of Lagos. Thank you so much, Leonard Silk, for joining us tonight. Give us your perspective. You raised an alarm, and that perhaps I'm not sure that is unfounded. You must have seen something for you to say something. Give us a perspective that you have on this matter.
Well, in the first place, while the INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission, is working around the clock to ensure credible election, I cannot see any sign on the part of the political class, any readiness on the part of the political class to have good elections in the country. I just listened to the Speaker of the House of Representatives now, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, expressing concern over political violence in the country. I'm rather flabbergasted in the sense that last year, the Senate passed, last year, July, the Senate passed the Electoral Offenses Commission bill. Up to now, up to today, the House of Representatives has refused to pass the bill and force him to the president for assent. So that's worrisome. Secondly, the security forces have not taken concrete steps to arrest anti-democratic elements that are bent on frustrating the democratic process. What we have witnessed in the last 1 month are warnings oozing out of the offices of the Inspector General of Police, National Security Advisor, Director General of the State Security Service. Governors are being warned to desist from using thugs to disrupt political campaigns of their opponents. Thugs are being warned to desist from, disrupting the political process. Those who have been arrested have not been brought to trial. The Central Bank of Nigeria has announced that cash withdrawals will not be allowed beyond 20,000 naira to the POS or 100,000 naira per week. But those who have stored dollars at home or those who are mopping up dollars are allowed to keep the money. And so, if you say they should not use naira, aren't they going to use dollars? Right now, PVCs are being bought. Thousands of PVCs are being bought by politicians. Are we to believe that the security forces cannot arrest such anti-democratic elements? So when you consider all these threats to the conduct of good elections in Nigeria, you will come to the irresistible conclusion that the 2023 election may lead to crisis in the country. By the way, in spite of the assurance by the armed forces or the authorities of the armed forces that the terrorists have been degraded from the information at my disposal, not less than 40 local governments in Nigeria are currently occupied by terrorists and armed gangs in a way that elections are simply impossible. You can't conduct elections in those areas. You will recall, Sheun, that in 2015, the elections were postponed for about 6 weeks. Before the armed forces, with the assistance of mercenaries, could prepare the ground for the elections. This time around, one does not know for how many weeks or months the elections may be postponed in those 40 local governments. So, whichever way you look at it.
Mr. Falana, let's take a quick break. We have some time on our hands to deal with some of these issues because I'd like to read out some of the quotes in your statement which perhaps is driving where we might be expecting the worst, and how do we prepare against the worst? And these are some of the issues that we need to take on. Plus, I would like to also get your views on the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele. There are a lot of people who are saying there are possible attacks on him. They've gone to court to stop the DSS and some of these issues. The CBN policy, the withdrawal policy, how much of the alignment to the law have they been able to do? Some of these issues, I'd like to get your view when we return from this break. Mr. Falana, stay with me. We'll be right back.
This is what they call 21st century. When my customer say I want to use POS, I will just bring out my phone, open the application, use this, press this code. I don't have anyone that using POS anymore.
Mr. Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, has been speaking with us on the implication of the incident that we have seen in the past few days on our elections, which is 66 days away. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for your time tonight. Let me show you part of the statement which you released yesterday, which brought some fears and concern to many Nigerians. You said, and I quote in some part of that statement, you said, unless the security forces are prepared to deal with the anti-democratic forces that are currently disrupting the democratic process, the 2023 general elections may be sabotaged to the detriment of democracy and political stability in the country. Mr. Falana, you are inferring that there might be a cancellation or the stoppage of the 2023 polls. This has far-reaching consequence, which will lead into some constitutional issues in the country. Is this your worst? Is this the worst that you envisage that could happen based on the incident that is currently going on, as you have described earlier?
Well, if you look at what is going on around us, you will have your fears. Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali had democratic government, but today they are under the jackboots. They have been attempting about 3 other West African countries. There have been attempted coups. In the United States of America, President Trump attempted a coup on January 6, 2020. Just a couple of weeks ago, Germany, there was an attempted coup in Germany. So there is no certainty where democracy has not been fully consolidated. In the case of Nigeria, what you have in place is what I might call rickety democracy. Such rickety democracy is under threat by members of the political class. 3 months ago, I contacted the leadership of the House of Representatives. When are you going to pass the Electoral Offenses Commission bill, which was passed by the Senate last year? Oh, I was assured we are going to pass it. But today, that bill has not been passed. The essence of that, the recommendation of the Waste panel, in 2008, which was set up by the Yaradua government, is that based on experience in the country, political parties, ruling parties, are very reluctant to prosecute electoral offenders. Therefore, let us have a commission that will do so. And that was the essence of the commission. The Buhari regime or the APC promised to set up the commission before coming to power. But today, that has not happened. In Ekiti and Osun, where you had gubernatorial elections recently, vote buyers were arrested, armed thugs were arrested. Why have they not been prosecuted? The NSA announced 2 months ago, no, this month, that we have had 52 incidents, 52 attacks. To the best of my knowledge, over 100 people were arrested in Ekiti alone during the primary. Not to talk of other states. Which of them has been prosecuted? Last week, the Arewa Consultative Forum corroborated the statement credited to INEC that PVCs are being bought. Voters are being induced already. Again, the governor of the central bank and I have had a running battle over the dangerous dollarization of the economy. Now, you have said we're not going to allow people to use Naira to buy votes. Why are you not saying that everybody who has dollars in their homes must put them in domiciliary accounts? So when you consider this incident, you come to the irresistible conclusion.
Mr. Falana, I need to ask you these two direct and short questions. One is, do you think that all of these are deliberate by the political class? There are some people who do not want us to have election next year.
You see, we're operating in an atmosphere of impunity. Once they are not brought to book, what do you expect? The president went to the United Nations last week. No, to the United States of America last week. And earlier than that, to the United Nations. To assure the whole world that his regime, his administration, will conduct credible elections. But on ground, anti-democratic forces are having a field day. And I have just reminded you,
if that is the case,
that
Mr.
in over 40 local
what
governments,
are
we will
the
not be able to have
implications
elections.
of not having elections at the stated time? Are there constitutional complications that may arise?
There are.
What are the implications? How dire is the situation? Should we have a situation where, with all what is going and what you have described, and we're not able to have an election, what is the worst case scenario?
You see, I have come out to warn Nigerians, to draw attention of Nigerians, particularly concerned Nigerians, to the dangers ahead. And I'm therefore challenging the authorities, the security forces, the Buhari administration, to go back to the drawing table. Read the riot act to members of the political class and proceed to arrest and prosecute the anti-democratic forces that are desperately bent on making a mockery of the democratic process. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, the home of a former senator in Rivers State was attacked by over 200 thugs without conducting any investigation whatsoever. The commissioner of police when Mr. Okon came out to say that the senator staged the attack on his house. So once the security forces are not neutral in the political crisis in town, you are in trouble. So for me, it is not too late in the day now. It is not too late in the day for the House of Reps to pass the Electoral Offences Commission bill and allow the National Assembly to forward same to the President for its assent, so that the commission, an independent commission, can be set up very quickly to deal with thuggery and violence and monetization of the electoral process, purchase of votes. Secondly, the armed forces will have to ensure that terrorists are chased out of town in the 40 local governments currently under the legal control of dangerous armed gangs. So these problems can all be identified and addressed one after the other. But if the members of the ruling class go on as if this country is not run under the rule of law, we are going to be in a very serious crisis. In a very serious crisis.
Right. Yeah, there is another issue, Mr. Falano, that begs for some intervention. And let's get your legal point of view on what is happening to the Apex Court governor, the CBN governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. There was a court order today, ruling of the court today, to stop the DSS from arresting or taking action against the man. I mean, there are controversies around the CBN governor, the CBN, its policy, and all of that. I mean, and we've seen civil society organization coming out to say, oh, they're planning to harass the man out of office and all of that. In the first instance, what are your initial reaction to the ongoings?
You see, there was the temptation. My initial reaction was the temptation to say that is certain right. Because in many instances, Mr. Godwin Emefiele has recruited the services of Mr. Mike Anduaka, SAN, to rush to the same Federal High Court to obtain ex parte orders to freeze the accounts of Nigerians. In the case of the leaders of the NSAS movement, their accounts were seized for 6 months. But having said that, I want to congratulate Mr. Godwin Emefiele for his temporary legal victory, whereby the court refused to grant the application of the State Security Service to arrest and detain him. I say that it's been lucky in the sense that on a daily basis, several ex parte orders are made by our courts authorizing the detention of people that I regard as the flotsam and the jetsam of the society. But in his own case, because of his social status, the court refused to grant the application. I have therefore called on our judges. Number one, to entertain and assign all fundamental right applications with dispatch. with dispatch, because there is equality before the law. Two, on no ground shall our court order the arrest and detention of any citizen on the basis of an ex parte application. So I want to believe that our court will now adopt the policy of saying, go and put the person you want me to detain on notice, so that he can be given the opportunity to challenge the ex parte applications. So I think we are learning, we are drawing lessons from what is going on. But I'm not going to join
on the final note,
who are jumping to conclusions. I deal with evidence as a lawyer, so I cannot speculate. I cannot guess why this harassment is being meted out to Mr. Godwin Emefiele. I do not have the full facts. Even the court said sufficient facts have not been adduced to warrant granting the order. So I think the ball is back. And the court did say, if you are sure you have the evidence, I cannot prevent you, and no court can prevent a citizen from being arrested, apart from those who are entitled to immunity. So if the State Security Service,
Mr. Falana, we are out of time. We're out of time, but although this you have dealt with sufficiently at some fora, is on the case of the policy of the CBN on the cashless and the withdrawal policy. You've said that it is unlawful and is against the existing Money Laundering Act, which has not been amended. But what would you advise, if you can deal with this question just in 30 seconds, what would you advise to be done? The policy
that the money,
has been made.
Section 2
what
of the Money Laundering Act
should be done urgently?
Be
just 30
amended,
seconds, Mr. Falana,
because it allows people to have about 5 million naira, I mean an individual, and then a corporate body 10 million naira. The law was amended last year by the National Assembly. But for me, having regards to the problems being encountered, or that will be encountered by majority of our people who have no bank accounts, I want to suggest that after the elections, people should be given at least 6 months, you know, to be able to acquire bank accounts. Right now, I know states in Nigeria where all the banks operate in the state capitals because of insecurity. So in the rural banking, I mean, in the rural areas, we need to get our people, you know, to embrace, you know, cashless economy. But for the purpose of the election, I think I'm not prepared now to challenge the legality or otherwise of the policy.
Mr. Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, thank you so much indeed for your thought and perspective that you have given to some of these issues. Thank you so much indeed. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Well, that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. Don't forget, tomorrow it's going to be an exclusive release of the ANAP NOI poll on the presidential election of 2023. It's going to be some very exciting information and realization of what is going on the minds of Nigerians. Join me tomorrow at 7 p.m. exclusively right here on Channels Television. And that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimbale. God bless Nigeria.